Gasps filled the workshop when the janitor's son stepped forward. Nobody expected him to move. Nobody believed he could even try. But when the boss threw down the challenge, something inside him ignited, and what followed next would leave every single person in that room stunned beyond words. This isn't just a story about fixing a broken machine. It's about breaking limits, crushing doubt, and discovering power where no one thought to look. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will shake you to the core. The industrial plant was loud as usual, metal clanking, engines roaring, workers shouting over the noise. But suddenly, everything stopped. The biggest, most critical machine in the entire workshop had broken down without warning. The air turned tense, tools dropped, the line halted. Everyone knew what that meant. Lost hours, lost money, and angry. Higher-ups, breathing down their necks, Mr. Rollins, the plant supervisor, stormed into the room with a face like thunder. He didn't waste time on greetings. "Who can fix this?" he barked. The mechanics looked at each other, but no one spoke. The machine was a monster, ancient, complicated beast that even the most experienced hands struggled to maintain. Several men had already taken a look and backed away, shaking their heads. Silence hung heavy until a quiet shuffle caught everyone's attention. It was Eli, the janitor's son, just 16, thin and quiet, always in the background. He usually mopped floors or fetched tools, barely noticed by the crew. Nobody had ever seen him near heavy machinery, and nobody expected anything from him. "What are you doing here?" one of the mechanics sneered, arms crossed. Looking for a mop, Eli didn't flinch. He looked straight at the broken engine and then back at Mr. Rollins. "I think I can fix it," he said. The room exploded with laughter. Someone even dropped a wrench from laughing so hard. The idea was ridiculous. This was a machine that had defeated trained adults. What could a janitor's son possibly do? Mr. Rollins wasn't amused. "You," he said coldly, "this machine is worth more than your future. You even breathe wrong, and we're done for. But you think you're up to it?" Eli nodded once, steady. Rollins stared at him for a moment, then stepped aside. "Go on." Then he said, "Impress us." The laughter faded to uneasy whispers. People crowded around, whispering bets and insults. Eli ignored them all. He walked slowly to the machine, eyes scanning every wire, pipe, and gear. What no one knew was that for years, Eli had watched everything from the shadows. He had listened to the mechanics talk, memorized their repairs, and learned their patterns. At home, he took apart old appliances, rewired radios, and rebuilt engines from scrap. His mind was sharp, his hands steady, and he saw things others missed. But still, this was different. The pressure, the eyes, the fear, it was all real. He took a deep breath and placed his hand on the metal surface. It was still warm. That told him the failure was recent. Something electrical, maybe a fuse or an overheated pump. He crouched beside the main panel and opened it slowly, revealing a tangle of wires that looked like chaos to most, but to Eli, it was a challenge. Time slowed as he worked. He moved with a calm that surprised everyone. No wasted movement, no panic. His fingers darted through the wires, checking connections, isolating the fault. Minutes passed, then more. People began to murmur, "What's he doing? He's just pretending, no way he gets this running." But Eli didn't hear them. In his mind, it was just him and the machine. The noise faded, the fear melted. There was only focus. Suddenly a spark flashed. Eli flinched, then smiled. He had found the issue, a faulty relay switch that had melted from heat. With quick thinking, he rerouted the power through a backup line, adjusted the cooling system, and tightened a few key bolts. He stood, wiped his hands, and looked at the control panel. Everyone held their breath. Eli pressed the button for a second. Nothing. Then the engine coughed, clicked, and roared to life. The workshop exploded. Not with laughter, but with shock. No one moved. No one spoke. Even Mr. Rollins stood frozen, eyes wide. The impossible had just happened right in front of them. The janitor's son had fixed what no mechanic dared to touch. But this was only the beginning. Because what came next would push Eli even further, and the truth about his hidden skill would leave more than just machines shaken. The engine thundered as it returned to life, shaking the ground beneath their boots. A sound that usually blended into the background now roared like a victory anthem. Workers stared, slack-jawed. A few exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they should be impressed or offended. And Mr. Rollins, who had built his authority on intimidation and control, stood speechless, watching a boy rewrite the rules of his workshop. But Eli wasn't celebrating. He simply stepped back, hands smudged with grease, face calm, almost distant. He wasn't looking for praise, he just loved solving problems. And this was just another puzzle, Mun, that everyone else was too scared to even try, mister. Rollins finally snapped out of his shock. His voice came low, controlled, but his eyes burned. Who taught you to do that? Eli wiped his hands on a rag. No one, he replied. I watched, I listened. I practiced at home. There was no arrogance in his voice, just truth. And somehow, that made it even more unbelievable. The idea that this quiet teenager had learned through observation, without any formal training, without anyone taking him seriously, was a wake-up call. And it was a threat. Some of the senior mechanics started whispering again, but this time it wasn't mockery. It was fear, envy. If Eli could fix what they couldn't, what did that mean for them? Don't get ahead of yourself, one of them snapped. One lucky guess doesn't make you a mechanic, but even as the words left his mouth, the machine hummed steadily in the background, running smoother than it had in months. Mr. Rollins crossed his arms. Let's see how deep your skills go, kid. Waved toward another broken piece of equipment, this one even older, half covered in dust and considered long dead. Mechanics had given up on it months ago. They said it wasn't worth the time. Eli glanced at it, then back at Rollins. All right, he said softly. The crowd followed him again. It was no longer mockery that drew them. It was curiosity, a sense that something unusual was unfolding. Eli got to work, moving faster this time. He was in the zone now. Every wire he touched, every bolt he turned, it all felt familiar, natural. The old machine groaned to life within 15 minutes. This time, no one laughed, no one spoke. One by one, people began to clap. It started slow, unsure, but then it grew. Louder, stronger, mechanics, assistants, even the plant manager, who had come downstairs after hearing the commotion. They all stood there, applauding a janitor's son who had just outperformed their entire crew, Mr. Rollins didn't clap, but he also didn't stop it. Something in his face had shifted, not just frustration, but maybe respect. Later that afternoon, Eli returned to his usual spot, cleaning the floors as if nothing had happened. But the way people looked at him had changed. No more snide comments, no more invisible glances. There was something else now. Recognition. A spark of fear, maybe. But also respect. At the end of the day, Mr. Rollins approached Eli quietly. You've got a gift, he said. Don't waste it. Eli nodded, not needing more. Because deep down he knew that machines were only the beginning. If he could change the minds of men built on pride and doubt, what else could he do? The plant would never be the same, and neither would Eli. Because that day, something bigger than a machine came to life, a future, a legend, a reminder that greatness doesn't always wear a title. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is the one who ends up leading them all. Like this video and tell us where you're watching from, because stories like this deserve to travel far and wide. And who knows? The next legend might be watching this right now.